I should have known that something was wrong when the movie got 37% Rotten Tomatoes. Also, my wife says that I need to lower the beep. Guys, back on the cinema scale, today we are taking a first look at the movie Here. A generational story about families and the special place they inhabit, sharing in love, loss, laughter, and life. The film is directed by Robert Zemeckis, the director of Back to the Future, all three parts, Pinocchio, the 2022 live version, and The Polar Express. The film is based on the graphic novel published by Richard McGuire in 2014. The film stars Tom Hanks and Robin Wright from the hit movie Forrest Gump. Paul Bettany, whom we know as Vision from the MCU, and Kelly Riley from Pride and Prejudice, the 2005 version, and Sherlock Holmes 1 and 2, Game of Shadows. The film focuses on the stories of several families living on one piece of land, which becomes a home to a modern family. The film starts back in prehistoric times, in which dinosaurs are running on the earth. I thought at one point I was watching The Land Before Time. And then the film continues to try to connect such location through its long history with the persons that are being portrayed in the story. So over the course of several years, there are several families that inhabit this one house. The film is dominantly shot in the living room. You don't see any other scenes of this said home until the very last scene. The families involved are families from the 1900s, families from the early 70s, families in the 2000s, etc. The film tries so hard to connect these families, not necessarily by knowing one another, but by events in history that make us all human. But despite the challenges that we go through in life, they happen to us here in our home. The interesting thing about this movie that I find didn't work is that Tom Hanks is 15 years older than Paul Bettany. So why in the world is Paul Bettany playing Tom Hanks' father in the movie? Tom Hanks' character is very unstable. He plays an not emotionalist kid, but he's kind of this young kid who grows up in what is a wayward household. Father drinks a lot. He's a former veteran in connection with the U.S. Army. He has not met the career goals he finds to be satisfactory. He drinks. He resorts to the dad-like elements to cope with his problems, and that obviously influences and affects his son. And that's how the movie finds itself going through this pattern of Tom Hanks' life, his adolescence into his adulthood, when he gets married, has a child, and then progresses that way. But throughout that story dynamic, there are other scenes coming in and out showing other families who've inhabited this house at different moments in history. The interesting thing about this movie, though, 1 hour into it, I'm like, where's the character development? You're watching events pop up on the screen at a rapid pace, and it has some story plot issues. So you don't really feel connected to all of the families. It's more like hey, that's a fun fact about that particular time period. Or, hey, that's interesting to see how they did things back then. I felt as though the movie did not give the proper homage to what the movie's theme was supposed to be about. We're looking at a fantasy drama, and it's really supposed to be a homey family movie. It's supposed to make you love or care for a family more than you do. The runtime of the film is 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I guarantee you, by the end of this movie, you will not feel connected to any of the characters because their screen time is on, off, on, off. So you get to see them at moments versus getting to know them through time. Robin Wright, let's talk about her character for a moment. She plays the nagging wife. What I didn't think worked well with this particular movie is, although they starred in Forrest Gump together, there was no chemistry here between the two. Robin Wright plays a very nagging wife who wants her husband to acquire a house for her, and that's really all of her dialogue in the movie. I need a house, I need a house, I need a house, that's our house. The film doesn't really highlight the happy times that families may encounter, but focuses more on the challenges of families. So families needing homes, they get a home, they have a couple of kids, and then they grow apart because of said individuals or kids. Throughout the film, they touch certain topics such as COVID-19, dementia, and black gun violence. These moments, although mentioned for a brief time in the film, do not really connect with the audience because there's no elaboration. So the moments in which they deal with these crucial aspects of human history that's supposed to make us feel connected here, as it were, they overlook them. The movie felt rushed, but then at the same time, it was dragging. I'm thinking to myself, this movie is 1 hour and 30 minutes, and I'm looking at my watch every second, trying to figure out when can I get up out of this seat and never return. I did watch the movie in a basic format because that's really what's available. There's not many showtimes for this movie, but I would recommend that you watch it at home on streaming. There was a couple, though, in the movie that spoke to me and my wife afterwards, and they said to us that it really touched their heart. The husband of this said couple, he mentioned that his father built their home from the ground up. And so he grew up in that house and he connected to the movie that way. So maybe that's what makes this movie work. If you're someone whom has been living in the same house for over decades, or is someone whom has raised the family in the house, grown with your kids, they have inherited this house and are living there currently with you and their children, then you might feel connected to the movie in that way. So guys, that was Here. Let me know in the comment box how this movie made you feel if you are determined to see it, and we'll hash it up on the next review.